would be an option. Perfect.
Perfect.
All right. Here we go.
So the tablet, sometimes tablets are a little weird with Zoom.
Yeah. We'll send some private messages to do some tech troubleshooting.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, welcome everyone. So good to stream you in from the waiting room. Good to see your smiling faces on this lovely Monday morning, this summer morning, or for some of you, the afternoon already. So welcome. My name's Andrea. I'm with PMD Alliance. I know many of you and look forward to getting to know those of you who I don't. Let's see. So, as you know from the registration and from the email, we are here to do a focus group today. And if I could have one of my coworkers put folks in mute for this section, and then so we don't get that background noise. And then when we get to the discussion part, we can open up turn off the mute so we can talk. But I wanted to set the stage for what we have planned for today. Um, we hear all the time from our industry partners. Um, they ask us, okay, what are support group leaders hearing? What are they going through? What are the pain points? And we also, on the other hand, have these great relationships through our InSync online training classes, through our InSync regional workshops with all of you. So hearing questions on one side and knowing all of you who are just so, I don't know, just so brilliant and creative on the other side, we had the great idea to just have everyone in a room together. One of our missions at PMD Alliance is to connect those separate portions of the ecosystem so that we're all in this together. You know, whether you are on the clinical side, support group leader side, whether you're living with a disease, a care partner, we're all connected and we're all, sharing in the dialogue together. So that was kind of the genesis of this program. And we appreciate all of you support group leaders being here. We know from working with you that you guys have some great, you are not short of opinions, of ideas, of refinements, of questions. And we wanted a chance for some of our industry partners to get to benefit from all of that. So yeah, so that's kind of why we brought you all here today. And today, the industry partner that we are working with is Sunovion. So we have a couple folks here from Sunovion, and all. So I'm gonna have you guys introduce yourself in a sec. So get ready. But because, as you know, their industry is highly regulated, I just wanted to set the stage that sometimes for their companies, compliance reasons, they can't say all that they wish that they could. But I sure can. So I'll just set the stage. So Sunovion is the maker of KYNMOBI. That's the under the tongue apomorphine strip, the on-demand therapy. And Sunovion's been a great partner of ours even before their therapy came to market. They were working with us, getting to know the community. They launched the Little Big Things initiative. I don't know if any of you were a part of that. And they were also the company that partnered with us to make the PD and Me app happen. And again, that's the app where you can find the support groups and the exercise groups from your smartphone. So, such a great company, always creative, innovative, pushing the boundaries. And we have today 3 representatives, maybe 4 if we can troubleshoot, but for now, 3, Homer, Jeffrey, and Janie. And I don't know, you guys have to, Rochambeau for who goes first, but I wanted to give you the chance just to again, strip down that wall. So we don't need to know, your LinkedIn bio, but if you guys tell us your name, maybe where you are, what you do in a nutshell, and then maybe the most exciting thing that you have planned for this summer or that you have already done this summer.
All right. I guess I'll go first. My name's Galera. I think I met most of you in person before COVID. I know it's good to see Dave's face and Perry's face. It's been so long, so it's good to see you guys. And I recognize a couple of other ones too, Daniel as well. So I'm the regional marketing liaison for Sunovion as well as my team, but I cover the Central West region, which encompasses Texas, Colorado, New Mexico, and Oklahoma. So excited to be here, excited to just engage with you guys, see what your hot topics are, just to get a better understanding. And the most exciting thing about summer is it's slowly getting back to normal out here and enjoying some time with the family and doing some quick summer vacation. Oh, so anyways, that's me, and I'll hand it over to Janie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Janie Martin, and I am also a regional marketer like Homer and Jeff. And I live in Wisconsin. I have 7 states. I'm called the Midwest person. I have Iowa, Missouri, Minnesota, Illinois, Kansas. I don't think I missed one. I might have missed one, but anyway, so I have those states, and I'm not sure if there's anybody from that area. So look forward to speaking with you guys, just kind of learning a little bit more about what you do and your role as support group leaders. So I'm super excited about that. And in terms of the summer, and I think what's most important to me, or what I've been doing so much of now, is basketball. I'm a Milwaukee Bucks fan, so go Bucks. And then also my son is in high school and he plays basketball as well. So we've been going to a lot of games. We've been driven to Ohio and Illinois, was all over Wisconsin. So I'm a bit tired. Next week is in 2 weeks is our last game, and then that'll be it for sports for me, at least for the summer with my kids. So that's it. So I'll hand it over to Jeff.
Thank you, Janie. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff Aromando. I do what Janie and Homer does, except on the East Coast. I work in New England. So I am the Northeast Regional Marketing Liaison. I live in New Jersey on the beach, or near the beach. And my summers are what you would imagine them to be. Lots of swimming, lots of barbecues and activities associated with the beach. However, I am making a journey far, far away from this part of the country to Alaska, and that is going to be my highlight of the summer, and that's coming in August. So I'm looking forward to that. And much like Homer and Janie, one of our main responsibilities for our work is to be involved with the advocacy and support groups, just as like yourselves. And I'm real excited to learn a little bit more, get to know you, and to see how we can continue to partner together. And I'm not sure if Pam was able to join.
Okay.
She was going to try to call in. I've been texting her. We've been trying to navigate this, so
Okay.
keep an eye out for
our groups, support group leaders here who have been on Zoom a lot more than maybe they thought they would, sure can relate to the, it always works until that time that you need it, and then you have the hiccups. So we know how it is with the Zoom troubles. Well, thank you, all of you, for those intros. Janie, you know that we are based in Arizona, so that was a very brave Milwaukee Bucks shout out. All of my fellow Arizonans, feel free to berate her, go Suns, in the chat.
I knew that, Andrea, by the way. I just kind of did that subtle little dig there.
Set the bar so it'll be an entertaining breakout for her. So
All of a sudden, if I dropped off, I'm like, okay, they dropped me off the call. I knew it.
I can't seem to unmute, and I don't understand why. Just kidding, just kidding. But isn't that, I always love that sports sometimes is that that common bond that can connect us to start to bridge those personal relationships. So I applaud you, Janie. Well, it was great to meet all of you, and I'll go over kind of the timeline and the plan for our the next a little bit over an hour that we have together. Yes, thank you, Sheila. See, um,
Okay.
so we we have about, so we're gonna allot about 25 minutes for breakout rooms. And those of you, has anyone done breakout rooms with their own support groups? Any, feel free to just make a random hand motion or whatnot. Breakout rooms are a great way to, the drawback of Zoom is that it is so hard to, unlike when you're in a room with people and you have all of the, the nonverbal cues and that interpersonal energy going. It's especially hard in Zoom, and it's almost impossible when it's such a large group. I know on my screen, I can only see 16 Brady Bunch boxes at the same time. And by the way, I don't know who it is who has Marsha Brady as their avatar, but I appreciated that. So the great thing about breakout rooms is it allows as much as you can on Zoom for a more natural conversation. So I have the puppet master here, Shannon Elliott, who many of you know from, we've done about, I think it's about 10 in-sync trainings online so far this year. And then we did some more last year too. So she's gonna shuffle the deck, wheel and deal, and assign us all to breakout rooms where hopefully we can have some more intimate conversation. I don't know if intimate is the right word, but some more engaging personal conversation. And I know I do see that many of you have your video off. And when we get into the breakout rooms, it's sometimes it can be hard to have that heart-centered conversation, or have engaging conversation when you don't have that visual. So if it's possible at all, when you get into the breakout rooms, if your technology allows it, we'd love for you to turn on your camera so that the discussion can just be so much better at that level. So after about 25 minutes or so, we will reconvene here as a large group and go around, and since we'll all be in our own silo doing our breakout room, just kind of share back maybe any aha moments or themes, or if you solve the problems of the world. We don't want that to be relegated to your private group, so please do share back with us. So we'll do that for about 10-15 minutes, and then the time will go fast, and that'll be all that we have together. So how did I do, Sarah? Did I miss anything? Anything you want to chime in?
Oh, I think you covered it really well. This is really valuable time. I mean, I think the only thing I would add is, for all of our annual partners, getting your input is really, it's invaluable. And so the time that you spend and the information you share with them will be really helpful to know how to best connect with support group attendees, and also to help support you. So make the most of this time. The ones we've done in the past, we have had, they've been very honest, and I think that the company that we've talked with have said that it's just been very, very helpful for them. So you guys are the wisdom holders. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for that. So Shannon, if you could paste the questions in the chat so everyone will have both, can read the visual of what they're going to be discussing, And then when we get in the breakout room, we'll again say it verbally, or I'll just say it now. And while we prepared some questions, we want this to be organic and free flowing. So if your discussion takes a detour and ends up, something outside of the scope of these questions, that is great and fine, but wanted to at least give you a place to start your discussion with each other. So thanks, Shannon, for putting that in the chat. So we thought a good starting place, since KYNMOBI is an off-time medication approved by the FDA for the treatment of off-time and Parkinson's. We thought diving into off-time, from one side of the table, it's all about off time. There's so many medications about off time. It is the puzzle that, researchers are looking to come up with new molecules to solve. But we wanted to make sure that on the other side of the table, do the people in your group, how do they talk about off time? Do they know what off is? Is it a common theme? And then the second question, how can the discussion of off time be improved? And I'll make up a theoretical example. If let's say Sunovion created this whole, campaign zeroing in on off time and, how their product can address it. But then if, the audience doesn't even know what it is that's being addressed, then that's no good. So just to frame, what we'll be discussing, those are the two questions that that we prepared to kick things off and to get things going in your group. And I see, Pam, that you're unmuted and that you're on the phone. And this is the seance portion. Pam, are you out there?
Yes, I am here. Unfortunately, I cannot see anything, but I can hear you guys.
Okay, good. Well, do you want to say hi? And I don't know if you even could hear what your colleagues shared, but just a little bit about yourself and where you're located.
Sure. So my name is Pam Hallsbrook. I'm a regional marketing liaison. I am actually, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I cover the Mid-Atlantic. And so my geography covers a little bit of South Carolina, and I extend all the way up to the Washington, D.C. area. And I've been with Sunovion for a little over a year. I've been in this market doing this type of work for over 15 years, but I'm really glad to be at Sunovion and having a chance to really work with Parkinson patients. I specifically have personally dealt with that because my grandfather suffered from Parkinson's. So this is a passion of mine, and I'm just really glad to be here and have an opportunity to work with you guys.
Great, thank you. All right, so let's see. So I see Shannon and I are working on our ESP, but the signal isn't connecting. So Shannon, do you have us ready to be divvied up and go into our breakout rooms, or should I tap dance a little bit more?
I think I'm just about there. We had a couple of people come and go after I've started the process. So it's going to be a little bit of finagling once I shoot everybody to the breakout rooms. And so we'll just have patience, and then I can manually do some of that once that process has started. So I think
There's a little break, right? Like when you send us to a breakout room, it'll look like, wait, what happened? You disappeared, but don't worry, stay on.
yes. And you may be muted when you leave to go to your breakout room. And then also once I close the breakout rooms coming back, you might be muted automatically. So just make sure you know where that mute and unmute button is in the bottom left-hand corner of your Zoom screen there. So you can talk to one another. That's what we want. And let me just make sure I Didn't miss anything before I send everybody away. Andrea just put the questions in again, so we know what to talk about. We'll do about 25 minutes. And I think we are set. So I'm gonna open all the rooms and I'll give you a little, maybe like a 5-minute notice so that you won't be caught off guard when you're gonna be brought back in. And I think that we're squared away then. Everyone good? Yeah. It's nice to have the thumbs up. Is everyone understanding what's going on? Great. I love that visual signal there. Okay. So I'm going to open all the rooms now and we'll see you on the other side. Hi, Maria. Okay, I'm going to place you into a room. Let me see what, okay, room number 3 is a
Okay.
little low, so I'm going to put you there.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, assign to 3. Great. Hi, Sandy. Can you hear me?
I can. They accidentally sent me to a room. So I was,
Oh, well, you know, it's like I can't not send you. So I put you in your own, and so you wouldn't have the awkward moment. And so
getting ready. I was trying. I actually got a email this morning of people being in a little bit of a panic. So that's the reason I even joined the beginning. So I was going to drop off. I wasn't going to join the room.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Where was the panic coming from?
Well, so I guess, you know, we've been working on this, and really, which I was glad to see that you were identifying me and kicking me out, because what we were planning on, based on my conversations with Jason, is we're putting together a survey that we're hoping to send out to participants in advance, which is something
Okay.
Jason said he thought would be okay to do.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to put together a survey monkey, send that to you guys to send out to whomever you thought were going to be the participants. And based on that feedback, then let that guide what the questions were going to be during the breakouts.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, here are a couple of things that come to mind with that. That's definitely possible. Sometimes with Zoom, I don't know your experience, but people are a little flaky. Like they'll register and then they just won't show up. So I think we have in the high 20s, but we had 50 something register. So that just tells you that we can't always rely on that pre-registration.
Yeah.
So what's also possible is to have maybe your top 5 questions. We could potentially set up a survey or a poll within the focus group at the beginning. And so the people who do show up that morning, we could do a little poll and we could see what it is their interests are, if that's what you're interested in finding out.
I think you got a new participant.
Yes, we did. Hi, Dave. Can you hear me? His audio is still connecting, it looks like. Hi, Dave. How are ya? Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me, Dave? Yes? I think you, yes, hi. We are in breakout rooms right now, and I'm going to send you to a breakout room so that you can talk to people. We're talking about Sunovion's KYNMOBI, which is the under the tongue strip. Okay, for off time. Is that understood? I don't know if you can hear me. Can you do a thumbs up for me? Okay, great. I'm going to send you to a breakout room now, Dave, and we'll see you back here in 20 minutes or so. Okay, let me do that for you. Let me see what's a good group. I'm going to send you to group number 3. Okay, here we go. All right. Welcome back. Hello,
Sorry.
hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
So how did it go?
Hello.
I was a big loner over here, all by myself.
Really good.
It went really well. Roger had some great stories. Sue had some good feedback on text. So we had a really good discussion from our end. So
Love that.
Us too, in group number one, we had a nice kind of geographic diversity too. We had Grand Rapids, North Carolina, and then LA and Orange County, which are two very different places. California will have you know. So yeah, okay. So have we all zoomed back? No one got spliced in transition? Okay, great. Well, now I wanted the chance to kind of go around and each group share what stand out, what any ahas or the things that you wrote down. And if I could actually ask our guests, our Sunovion guests, to kind of report back what they thought was interesting and what they'll be taking back to their team. I always find that interesting to hear, from your perspective, what you learned. So I see Homer first on my screen. Could you kind of tell us what you guys talked about and any
yeah,
ahas?
so we had Roger and Sue on ours. So we had Sandra, but I think she dropped off a little bit, and hopefully she came back on. And Rachel was on the call as well. And we talked about discussions on off episodes and what that looks like. What are some of the needs? What are some of the hot topics? And Roger and Sue both had some really good insights on just their day-to-day experience, because as you guys know, and I'm preaching to the choir, when you meet one Parkinson's patient, you just meet one Parkinson's patient, right? And what we talked about was the complexity of off episodes, how it's so different, and how the need to have that conversation with your physicians or your care partners or your families are really important, really to share the story on some of those challenges that happen during off times. And I think as a company, we really want to try to understand those stories and really how do we build something around that? Because as you guys know, when we created Little Big Things from an advocacy perspective and the partnership with our advocacy groups, it was all based on the feedback from people with Parkinson's and their care partners. And we created these great little giveaways, whether they were the button helpers or the zipper pulls, and just understanding the off times and understanding that it's still an unmet need. It's still something that we really want to try to provide an educational platform or even a framework to help partner with advocacy groups to help people with Parkinson's and their families understand that, hey, this conversation can be expounded on based on resources that maybe we can develop in partnership with advocacy groups. But at the same time, how do we help you guys support that? Because we talked about off times, we also talked about accessibility with medications across the board. And Roger had a good insight on, everything's a toolbox. Your medications are a toolbox. And, it doesn't make sense if you have a hammer on the shelf of a Lowe's that's useless when you can't use that. So, Roger and Sue made a point that it's very important that they have a lot of options in their toolbox, because at the end of the day, you guys are living your lives and you want to make sure you have every tool in your toolbox to help you get through that day or week. So those are some great insights that I think I'm going to share back with the company. The last one is about, the daily log. I think sometimes we only give you 1 day form of what your off experience looks like, but maybe we can do like a week log value program, something like that, where you can actually record a week's long program. And I think we do have those in some of our starter kits, but it's something definitely that we want to make sure that we try to share with our corporate team to say, okay, here's some educational pieces we can partner with the advocacy teams and PMDA in particular, how we can work on continuing to partner and improve on what we've provided so far, because nothing gets better unless you always evolve to improve things. So those are some great insights. So we appreciate the engagement, really good conversation. So that's all I have.
Homer, can I say something?
Sure.
It's great seeing you, but
Maria?
I was,
Hi, Maria.
hey, I was gonna say that, keeping those diaries off are so challenging, especially when they're off, and people are having trouble writing and can't read their own writing like I do. So I think that I found best to have little video snippets, like even if it's once a week, but you get to see more of a visual, see them, and also makes you realize, because I've done those, that sometimes we think that, oh, we're doing okay, we're going along. And so you really, when you have to write, you don't think you really have anything to share. And then you look at the video and you look at yourself and you look what you were like yesterday, what you like, and you're like, oh, I really was off that day, or, this is what we're talking about. And so I think doing those little, 1 minute or less videos, I think that provides so much more information for the doctors and for the, researchers of what really life is like and what an off period for everybody means. It doesn't mean you have to have the same symptoms, but what it means to be off. That's it.
I love that. As someone who is currently not doing a good job of keeping a food diary for like an allergy situation I'm working on, like it's just so painful.
It is.
So that we carry around these, video devices.
The phone is with you all the time. So you just, click it in.
This is great. Well, thank you, Homer, for that synopsis. And I think next up I see Pam, who was in my group. Pam, did you want to share back any eureka moments that we discussed from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we had a great group, and as mentioned earlier, we had a very diverse group. So we had some members from the East Coast, the West Coast, and then I think you said it was someone from Grand Rapids. But a couple of things stood out to me that I think are important to note. The first is, as we were talking about, I think you just mentioned they were talking a little bit about food diaries, and we had a couple of questions to come up about how they were really interested in using medications that bypass the gut. And one of the things that came out was that they really mentioned that they would like education on like the mechanism of action, and talk a little bit about the difference between some of the treatments for Parkinson's. And it really was interesting, because I know a lot of times we think of that information being, important more so for the physician who's making the decision of which medication the patient's going to use. But it really stood out that the patients, they seem, and obviously we know this, we know that Parkinson's patients are very advanced patients, and they're very much aware of what's going on and, what the treatment options are. But they were basically suggesting that, hey, some of this information that we're sharing with the physicians, we want to get more information about that as well, so that we can understand the mechanism of how it's working, and, and the impact that it has. And, that took us to a discussion around nutrition and, knowing what foods to eat and what not to eat. So the recommendation that we're going to take back to the brand is that, we want to make sure that we incorporate that in our education. We do have some information about that, but, being able to kind of speak a little further, certainly in a way that patients can understand, can make a difference, because they really want to know why, not just, the fact of what options are out there, but why should they use this option and what makes it better than another treatment. The other thing that stood out to me, they talked a little bit about, we were talking about off times, and we had a really good discussion. And then we kind of peeled back the onion a little further just to see, do they understand that term off times? And of course, most of them do, but, sometimes, it may be just, patients may think of it more so as, they may describe the symptom that they're experiencing versus the fact that it's an off time. So, being able to make that connection, it might be, when I have a bad day, or, when I experience a bad, time during the day, so making sure that we really understand that the patients know the difference between the vernacular And, you know, they also mentioned that newer patients who have newly been diagnosed may not necessarily be there as of yet. Of course, a patient who has had Parkinson's for, 10 years, obviously they're going to be more familiar with the vernacular, but, you know, being able to really to describe the off time so that when they experience the symptoms, they can really articulate and really understand when they need their on-demand treatments can make a huge difference. So anyway, those are just two things that stood out, but we had a really good discussion, and I'm sure, you know, we've covered some other things too, but those are just two things that stood out in my mind.
So what do you think, group one? Did Pam do a good job of listening? Anything else that you'd want to add? Two thumbs up for Pam.
Thank you. And that was without even being able to see everyone.
Yes, only had the auditory input, so good work. Okay, Jeff, I see you next on my screen. Time for your pop quiz. What did you learn?
Sure, Andrea. Yeah, I would say that the primary takeaways for me surfaced around the varying degrees of knowledge by each individual patient who has Parkinson's. As Homer mentioned earlier, really each one is so unique, and therefore everyone has their own level of understanding. And if we, as folks that like to educate and provide activities to help increase the knowledge, we need to be aware of that, and to perhaps look to customize the level of information that we're delivering, so that those that perhaps are newly diagnosed and would appreciate a more fundamental and, if you will, elementary overview of what off times are and of Parkinson's in general, if they would like to participate in something like that, then we would have something more geared towards that. And those folks that have been more advanced and perhaps have already learned that and would like a more in-depth discussion or an in-depth level of awareness, then we can have a menu that also provides that as an option. So those are some takeaways that I thought were very, very good ideas, and something that I would like to bring back to my company as well. Did I capture that? Group two? What were we? Group two? Group three?
I think you did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then that leaves Janie. What did you guys talk about?
Yes, so we were in group three, and I had a great group as well. I'll say that, you know, many of the things that you guys discussed, we discussed as well. There are 2 or 3 key things I think that were mentioned that maybe were not mentioned in your conversations. And one of them just was around when patients or clients that are suffering from PD, when, you know, they're taking, say, for example, too much medication or not enough medication, or when that medication is wearing off. Sometimes they experience, dyskinesia or some type of freezing. And, sometimes when a patient, may go to the ER and they're thinking, oh, I'm having a lot of anxiety because my medication is wearing off. And then they want to add on an antipsychotic or something like that. So that whole anxiety around not having the medication that works, or the medication wearing off, can be truly troublesome. So just having more conversations around that, and that many of those symptoms may include motor symptoms or non-motor issues that can really be very disabling for a person, and really can cause a lot of that anxiety. So that was one of the things that was mentioned. Did I say that correctly, Maria? I know that was one of the things you had mentioned.
Yeah, that you did a great job. Yeah, the fact that, sometimes we forget to include that non-motor issues are a big part of the wearing off, or some of the things that bother patients, that they're still reason to take these medications, you know, for like KYNMOBI and things like that to try to improve those symptoms. But going back to what Jeff said, the language, I think, or maybe it was Homer, but we need to include language that is very plain and simple to understand what we mean, what we're treating, because yes, as people that are, you know, leaders and part of these groups, you know, they're much more knowledgeable than the rest of the Parkinson's community. And most of the Parkinson's community does not have that grasp on education or what actually is an off or what a dyskinesia is or what, you know, so those are the things that we need to get back to them and have information in plain language that says, you know, this is what we mean.
Right.
This is what we're treating, and have the list of things that we treat, and so they can have a check and be able to initiate a discussion with their physicians. Because again, people that have been doing this for a long time, you know, they're very savvy and they can, you know, they're advocates for themselves and for others, but not everybody in the Parkinson's community, particularly when they get end stage, when they become more withdrawn and isolated, that's when we need, and that's when they need the medicine the most. Those are the people that we need to be targeting because they're the ones that are having these issues of motor fluctuations, and they're the ones that are so unable to have a voice because they can't get to the doctor, because they don't have somebody to take them, because, you know, they're having trouble swallowing or talking, or, you know, they have so much apathy because they don't have enough medicine to get dressed and shower and go to the doctor. So
Right.
that's the group that I'm trying always to, you know, to make sure that we don't leave behind, because they get behind the scenes, because all of us are still functioning, are out there, but then the people that are not, you know, they get isolated and they get forgotten very quickly. So.
Thank you, Maria. I really appreciate that. And, you know, just another thing that, you know, she said in the very beginning is that education is extremely important. Education it's powerful. You know, we all don't speak the same language of what off times is. So we have to make sure that we're definitely educating them around, you know, what that may mean and understanding what are some of the symptoms and challenges that they're experiencing. And then I think lastly, maybe something that was different, well, maybe not different, because I know this was mentioned, I think briefly with Pam, a big problem was around food and the time of day in which you're taking the food, and just really education around, you know, how that can, you know, affect the medication, the time of day that you take it, the food that you eat, things like that. So those conversations are continuing. It's definitely needed.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that what you were talking about, Maria and Janie, you know, Karen from North Carolina started by saying, or Karen, do you want to kind of say one of your first comments about how you know, told your group and they didn't even know?
At our last meeting, I updated them on what we would be doing the next August meeting. And I told them that we'd have a neurologist there to talk about off periods and rescue medications. And nobody looked like they were aware of what I was talking about. So I don't know if it was the word rescue medication or the word off periods, I don't know. But I should have explained a little more that it was, you know, it was time to leave and everybody's getting up. So I think we do need a better way to describe, or a definition of off periods.
Yeah, I see Sheila raising her hand.
You know, I have to say, and this is so challenging for you guys who are professionals in, I started to say this business, the disease business. And I do not have the immediate answer, but I mean, I think Sarah and Jeff from our group. Oh, I'm sorry, one moment, let me just turn that off. Sorry. The challenging thing is we obviously have almost two diametrically opposed points of view on this. Because in our group, I think Perry and I were the only ones that are in our support groups that provided input on this. And he and I are dealing with a lot of folks in our particular groups that are more experienced in, you know, facing the PD journey. And so we have grown really tired of hearing a lot of the basics beyond what sort of has to be told because of FDA regs. So and I totally understand the other point of view too, though, that you need to explain what off time and rescue meds are to people who haven't gotten to that point yet, or are not recognizing it, or as Maria said, are isolated. So they're two very almost opposite goals for communicating and how to facilitate that. I don't know what the immediate answer is, but I know Sarah touched on it earlier in discussing from our group, maybe to try to explore some out of the box solutions for customizing and also providing, you know, background information before the meeting takes place, so that people sort of know, is this going to resonate with me and my particular needs, or my group's needs, or not, you know.
Good point.
Well, I think the problem we have is kind of like teaching, right? You teach to the middle ground, and, you know, you have the people that are, you know, they have, and so we can't have that, but there's
Sorry.
a lot of,
I mean, I'm sorry, but I kind of disagree with you a little bit, Maria.
No, I'm saying that that's what they do in teaching. I'm not saying that that's what we do. A lot of schools.
I was a teacher, an adult ed teacher for many
Oh,
years.
well, that's good.
I
wish they were more like you.
I never took to the middle.
Well, that's good. I wish they were more like you, but unfortunately, a lot of places, that's what they do.
For adults though, for adult ed, it's an entirely different field.
Yeah.
And we're actually taught to not teach to the middle. We're, as adult educators, and I taught at community college for many years, we actually are taught to structure programs and lessons for individual learning needs or small groups. So
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to butt in, but it's very different from K through 12 teaching styles. So for our groups, I think it is important to try to customize as much as possible.
Right, that's what I was going to say. You didn't, that I think we need to have two tracks for people that are, you know, beginners, groups that, you know, don't have the information, don't have the knowledge, don't have the, you know, or early diagnosed. And then you have the people that are experienced and are involved in, you know, research. And so there's two different, you know, there's two different tracks. But I still think that the majority of people are in the track of beginning learning and not in the extended release, just from, you know, seeing patients.
So many of our patients are, I mean, so many of our people that we serve.
Yeah, I mean in the doctor's office, what I saw as patients.
Oh, as a physician.
As a physician, what I'm saying is that those are the people that I think need to be targeted from the physician's office, because they're the ones that are going to be providing these medications, and they're the ones that are going to be using it. So you need to target those people, because those are the people that are not getting the information. That's what I'm talking about, not the groups, not the, you know, the people they're serving, they're already involved, they're one step ahead of everybody else. So I'm talking about, you know, the ones that the doctors see on a regular basis in their clinics.
I think too, one of the things we spoke about briefly was what would be a helpful handout. So we actually had a little tiny discussion about like infographics. And, you know, that some people are visual learners, some people need narrative, some people need stats, some people need visuals. Because we were talking about I think Perry in particular started talking about the graph, the piece of like, you know, on, and then it separates when you're no longer works as well. And we were talking about how effective is that, or how not effective is that particular graph in helping to understand really what's happening. And so I think, I do think that Sunovion, one thing I will say about Sunovion, and I've been impressed with this, because you guys have partnered with the community for years before your medication even came out to, you know, be available, which I think is pretty awesome. It helped you get to know the community, but you've got some pretty creative people that in your arsenal. I even think of like, when I would go to the conferences, which I know was something that was for the physicians, but kind of that bedroom of like, you know, your bedroom visual. And now I'm forgetting whose bedroom it is. There was actually a name. What's the name of that person? Homer, what was the name of?
You know, I knew you were gonna. I forgot. I mean, I think
Oh, it's gonna kill me.
people. Yeah, I know. I want to say maybe it was a
Thank
Susan
you.
or something.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I think what would be interesting, one thing we kind of all agreed on is that while infographics look pretty and fun, they also are completely overwhelming and don't necessarily tell us what we need to tell or what we need to know. So I think there's some story in here maybe that could be, could meet that visual need, like, you know, like Sheila was talking about, we really need visuals because some people are visual learners and some people need data. But I think it was an interesting conversation because you see that graph that, you know, the on and then it splits, you know exactly what graph I'm talking about. You see it all the time. And it was interesting to hear that's not always actually easy to translate into everyday life. So you could create something brand new.
And I know that another member of our breakout room decided that he was going to take it upon himself to his next, or not next, but a near meeting to actually do some off time education about, you know, what is off time. And we shared some metaphors to expand that, you know, that vernacular, that jargon to concepts that we all can talk about. And I liked the suit of armor was one that Dave shared, that feels like walking in a suit of armor. And I know I've heard Roger Jenkins talk about honey. You feel like your body is trapped in honey. So hopefully I'm not misquoting you. Yes, Roger.
I just had a flashing light come on. I've got a new label for Sunovion subliminal strip. Do you know how people that have heart disease have nitro pills they put under their tongue? I think we just found a parking nitro. Put it under your tongue. And the reason I do, because I've had 3 police experiences involving walking, driving, because my meds hadn't kicked in. If I could have a quick acting parking nitro patch, then it could get me going. It's humorous now, but I got taken to jail 3 different times before I got it explained. So I'm going, when I get my new, I'm gonna call my parking nitro patch.
Okay, well, we all heard it. So any, you know, royalties have to be sent to Roger if that takes off. But on a serious note, Roger, wow, you had 3 police encounters. That sounds really scary and terrible.
It was. I thought I was ready for the last one. Actually, the last one was the best one. I talked to him at length, and this young policeman, his name was Noah Webb, and he said he actually did some homework on Parkinson's. So Miss Sarah Jones, and Margie and Shannon, educating the policemen, the aware and care pack for hospital people. We need a whole separate area for educating policemen that come in contact with drivers. Don't holler, don't raise your voice. Just because we can't talk plain and clear does not mean we're drunk. We might have our off time. So and quick thinking, a little laminated card I can carry the size of my driver's license. Parkinson's, 1, 2, 3. But the first policeman, my last one was the first one that said he had studied a little bit. And a second police comes up and says on the other side of my car, do you need help? The trooper that stopped me said, no, he's fine. He just needs a little bit of time. So, but 3 of them, I could have ended up in jail if it would have been an aggressive officer. But I just remember, just because of today, I need to put my experiences on paper because I thought I was ready after the first police experience, but everyone was different. 2 restaurants called the police, didn't say anything to me, but reported me as a drunk person. So they come out and say, get this drunk person off the road. But it all resolved okay, but it could have been disastrous.
It really could have been. And since I know you, I'm not surprised that you turned it into an opportunity to make a friend and do some educating. But that's I think that's a great way to kind of close our discussion that, this is, yes, Roger.
I used to say when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I've changed that to sparkling lemonade with PMDA.
Nice. Thank you, Roger. Well, see, such an optimist. He's always ends on a happy note and always sees the best. So, like many of you who are out there, meeting with your support group members, holding the space so that they can meet others like them, discuss, learn. We are so grateful for you, for everything that you do. You're a invaluable piece of the community, and we just want to make sure that we're here to support you. So whether it's creating resources, being that extra arm, we know as volunteers, as most of you are volunteers, there's only so many hours in the day. So if you team up with us and have that great spark of idea, then, we just love it when our team can bring an idea to fruition. So let's keep talking. We want to be that resource, that activator for you. And I'm so glad to all of you for joining today, to get this this discussion out there. And thank you to the team from Sunovion. So, all of them, they are influential people at their companies, leading the marketing efforts for, an entire region, representing the marketing for the entire country. So they have powerful voices at their company, and just so glad that we had this discussion so they can take back everything that we discussed and everything that we learned today, and then go on and educate the folks that they work with. So no pressure, guys, but it was lovely to get to know you. And I know in our group there were some conversations sparked, and there's going to be future discussions offline and some local connections made. We will share the contact information of Jeff, Homer, Janie, and Pam with all of you. So if there's anything that you want to follow up with, you know how to get a hold of them, and we keep that line of communication open. So thank you for joining us. What a way to kick off the week and to start a Monday together. So a million thanks to everyone who joined today, and I can't wait to see you all online or now in person, maybe sometime soon.
Thank you.
Many thanks. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice to see
you.
everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you
We'll
guys.
see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.